April 11, 1994 Observer Newsletter. New IWGP champion crowned. WCW lawsuit. Thunder in Paradise, Tonya Harding and All Japan Women, War. By Observer staff. April 11, 1994. A couple of world title changes, a filing of a sexual harassment grievance and a major loser leaves town match headlined the news of the past week. In a major surprise, Tatsumi Fujinami captured the IWGP heavyweight title for the fourth time, beating Shinya Hashimoto on April 4 at the Hiroshima Green Arena. The result was surprising since Hashimoto had won the title in September from Great Muta, the promotion had given him the major push as the top member of the so-called present generation superstars, Hashimoto, Masachono, Keiji Muto and Hiroshi Hashi, since the fans believe he is tougher even though Muto and Hashi are obviously the superior wrestlers. The quality of the match was a surprise as well as the papers reported it was much better than anyone expected. The win may simply be a way to set up a match for the May 1st Fukuoka Dome, or a last-ditch attempt to get Fujinami, who is a legendary figure, should be over since Japanese fans never forget, but the truth is he really isn't, back to being accepted by the fans as something more than a face in the crowd who was once a star. The other title changes were just quickies on the WWF European Tour, where Men on a Mission won the tag titles on March 29 in London, England at Royal Albert Hall from the Quebecers, and lost them back on March 31 in Sheffield, England. Those title switches were acknowledged in the US on All American Wrestling April 3, unlike when WCW did a similar short-term title switch with Rick Rude and Hashi overseas that was not acknowledged on television. Missy Hyatt, filed a claim with the Georgia Equal Employment Opportunities Commission, EEOC, on March 29 claiming that during her 5 years of employment with World Championship Wrestling, she was frequently sexually harassed by supervisors, cameramen and wrestlers and was paid substantially less than male announcers with no greater professional talent. WCW has not commented on Hyatt's charges because it is against company policy to comment on threatened litigation. Hyatt has not filed suit against WCW, but has threatened to file a suit for in excess of $2 million against WCW in federal district court demanding back pay and monetary damages for emotional distress. This story probably because it was revealed that a photo taken of Missy jumping into the ring where her breast fell out of her ring outfit, believed to be from Starrcade 93, was blown up and hung in the photo studio where several employees could see it, got more mainstream media publicity than anything involving pro wrestling except the Tonya Harding / All Japan Women's story since the indictment of Titan Sports and Vince McMahon in November. Not only did it make numerous television newscasts and newspapers around the United States through the AP wire, but was the subject of lengthy discussion on both Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh's widely listened to radio shows. Stern dismissed it by saying that she didn't complain when she was working there, but now that she didn't have a job, now she's claiming sexual harassment, which is a key point considering he didn't have a clue about the story. Limbaugh, who knew of Hyatt because he had on a few occasions talked about her on his radio show in the past, first said that it must be a slow news day if this is being carried around the country, then proceeded to go off on a several-minute diatribe about the subject. He had even less of a clue and basically dismissed it, saying something to the effect of that in many ways it was her job to be sexually harassed given the nature of the job, which is a valid point as it pertains to the television character Missy Hyatt, but not as it pertains to Melissa Hyatt the person, one of which is a fictitious person, and the other of which isn't. In WCW's home Atlanta market, there was a 7-paragraph story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and coverage on 2 television stations. EEOC guidelines prohibit releasing the contents of her complaint or the names or her alleged harassers. However, Hyatt's attorney Allison Baum said she has evidence that several of Hyatt's supervisors made demands for sex and co-workers subjected her to public embarrassment. After filing the complaint, Hyatt moved from her longtime home in Atlanta to New York. She was quoted as saying that WCW executives demanded she play a bimbo role, and during her tenure endured off-color remarks and insistent requests for dates. She claimed she stuck it out only for the money, $75,000 per year, but that was about $100,000 less than some male announcers and managers. There is a lot that can and will be said about this. Comparing her income to announcers like Tony Schiavone or Jesse Ventura or managers like Paul E. Dangerously or Jim Cornette when they were with the company is unfair, because those managers were far more versatile characters and the announcers mentioned above had far more responsibility. The only character's income that it would be fair to compare Hyatt's to possibly would have been Teddy Long, since they had comparable airtime responsibilities, but even Teddy Long spent a lot of time with community affairs, so the comparison may not be fair. When it comes to this complaint, which pretty much everyone in wrestling dismisses immediately because it involves Missy Hyatt and because of who Missy Hyatt is, one has to differentiate between Missy Hyatt the television performer, which is a fictitious character, and Melissa Hyatt, who filed the complaint, even though there are similarities in both. In a lot of ways, Missy Hyatt's role in wrestling would be similar to that of Jim Hellwig, although obviously she was never as big a name. She had a job based on how she looked, and it was an unnatural look that she needed to maintain, which couldn't be maintained by natural means. Ergo, she felt pressured, whether from her own need to look a certain way or for fear she'd inevitably lose her job without maintenance of that unnatural look, a fear that may very well have been justified and that I'm convinced she herself believed to be true, to undergo numerous plastic surgeries, and went through stages of bulimia. Those standards aren't unique to Missy Hyatt in wrestling or limited to women who work in front of the camera in wrestling. You'd surely find numerous similar examples of that in modeling, stripping, acting and numerous other professions where women are in a public spotlight and in any way judged on physical attributes, particularly as they reach 30 and want to maintain their jobs. The problem in simply dismissing this as simply a hot-tempered vindictive recently fired employee is that while those in an almost totally male-oriented wrestling business in many ways may be happy with the standards of the industry and a woman's role in the profession, a jury in a courtroom looking in on the business from the outside will probably look at those same set of circumstances a whole lot differently. Because of that, you can laugh if you want, but this could turn into a serious story. The 2-hour Thunder in Paradise movie, that aired nationally from March 21 to March 27, garnered a 6.7 national rating, putting it in 14th place among all syndicated shows. There is a lot that needs to be mentioned for future comparison purposes. In many markets, they air the movie twice, and the individual ratings aren't averaged together, they are added together. For example, in the San Francisco market, which was one of the lower-rated markets for the movie, it did a 3.1 and a 3.2, which doesn't mean it averages to a 3.15 but combines for a 6.3 within the market. The show itself in most markets will only air once. The show will also have a consistent time period, so it is possible it'll build an audience, although it won't have the initial tremendous promotional push behind it after a few weeks. It should be noted that the movie ratings overall have to be labeled tremendous. In the top 10 markets the movie did: New York, 7.0 plus 5.2, Los Angeles, 9.1 plus 5.2, Chicago, 4.9 plus 4.3, Philadelphia, 3.6 plus 3.2, San Francisco, mentioned above, Boston, 5.1, Washington, D.C., 5.0 plus 8.5, Dallas, 5.5, and Houston, 5.9. While we don't have national numbers for the debut of the 1-hour show itself, on March 28 on War in New York, the show did a whopping 9.6 rating in the Monday 9 p.m. time slot, finishing second in its time slot behind only NBC programming and more than tripling what Monday Night Raw did in the New York market head-to-head. It would be surprising to see numbers hold up at that level, but they can fall a long way and still have acceptable ratings. As for the first episode of the show, it is clearly not good acting and Hulk Hogan is no actor. It by no means is the worst show on television, although the writing was terrible and acting fair at best, and its negative reviews are easily understandable. Generally shows that bad don't last long, but everyone can and will point to Baywatch, which this show is in many ways an imitation of. The only thing it really has going for it is the scenery, the bikinis and Hogan's charisma. For wrestling fans, there is the curiosity of trying to find the background shots in the crowd scenes of guys like Jim Neidhart, Jimmy Hart, and Brutus Beefcake. The show is totally a vehicle for Hogan to play the role of being a tough guy action star and kind to kids at the same time. While he was originally supposed to be in a marriage of convenience, that was already scrapped with the storyline that his wife had died, leaving him with a young daughter to give him the spot to do his kind to kids routine. Sting, listed in the credits as Steve Borden, guest starred as the lead heel and wasn't bad at all in his role, and had 2 stiff fight scenes with the show's star that pale in comparison with fight scenes in martial arts movies, and will return as lead heel in the second episode as well. Hogan still hasn't signed with WCW, nor will he for at least a few more weeks, although one has to believe the odds are strong that he will do so. WCW teased on television strongly that Hogan would be at ringside for the Ric Flair vs. Rick Steamboat title match in Chicago on April 17, although it isn't confirmed that is the case, since they also teased Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley being there, and they won't be there for sure. Hogan appeared with series co-star Carol Alt on April 1 on The Larry King Show, although it was guest hosted by Kermit the Frog, and the subject of going to WCW was brought up, and Hogan gave the "I'd come in if they gave me a shot" at the title response, then asked the caller who he thought would win between himself and Flair. The caller, who obviously watches a lot of tape since he said how Hogan wrestles much better in Japan and mentioned his match with Muta, hesitantly indicated he thought Flair was the better wrestler and Hogan did a good-natured acting job of being mad at the caller. It seems all isn't dead in regard to talk of Tonya Harding and All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling. Harding did her first live interview since the Olympics on April 3 on Japan's Fuji television network, largely talking about her past skating career. The subject of pro wrestling came up twice during the interview. First she was asked 10 questions and asked to simply give yes or no answers, which went something like this. Are you satisfied with your performance at the Olympics? Yes. Have you been misrepresented by the media? No, she really answered that way. Do you think the majority of the American public thinks you are a nice person? Yes, this girl doesn't have a clue, does she? Have you made a decision about joining All Japan Women? No, do you think honesty is the best policy in every case without exception? Yes. When asked if she realized that she had given figure skating, the Olympics and the United States all a bad image internationally by her competing in the Olympics, because the world saw it as figure skating, the Olympic Games and the United States all as weak and unable to discipline someone who had already admitted to obstructing justice, she seemed totally surprised that was the worldwide perception. The next to the last question was, do you have any plans to accept the offer of All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling? And she responded, I don't really know. I don't know much about their pro wrestling. I haven't made my decision yet. It sounds exciting. Harding spoke slowly as she did in her infamous press conference, I want to win a gold medal for my country, when her name was linked to the Kerrigan attack, except when the pro wrestling questions were asked, which she smiled and chuckled and was more upbeat answering. She was then asked if she wanted to wrestle and she said, I need to know more about it. This isn't going to happen, and even if it did, the odds are exceedingly long she'd even be passable at it, but All Japan Women does have a 60,000-seat dome stadium show on November 10th, and last weekend with a loaded-up show they failed to sell out a 17,000-seat arena, so they need a major attraction because 20,000, while it would set an all-time record worldwide for women's wrestling, would look awfully empty in the Tokyo Dome. There are at least a few American promoters kicking themselves for not making Harding an offer, not so much for her to accept, but for the publicity value of getting the promotion mainstream media pub. Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling announced the complete lineup for its biggest show of the year, on May 5 at the Kawasaki Baseball Stadium. Last year's show in the same park drew 41,000 fans, headlined by Atsushi Onita vs. Terry Funk, which was the fourth largest crowd of the year to attend pro wrestling anywhere. The Onita vs. Genichiro Tenryu match should outdraw the Funk match, and was announced as being an explosive barbed wire match as expected. They had done an angle where Tenryu wanted a standard cage match rather than an explosive match. The remainder of the card is largely filler with a few highlights, with Funk vs. The Sheik, Tarzan Goto and Samba Asako vs. Mr. Pogo and Hisakatsu Oya in a street fight, Big Titan and the Gladiator and Riki Fuji vs. War Trio of Koki Kitahara and Masao Orihara, and Hiromichi Fuyuki. Megumi Kudo defends the Independent World Women's title against Yumiko Hata, of All Japan Women, Sabu and Damien vs. Dr. Lucer and Yone Jinjin Michinoku Pro, Mr. Ganasuke and Katsutoshi Niyama vs. Goro Tsurumi and Hideki Hasaka, Combat Toyota and Crusher Maidamari and Shark Tsuchiya vs. Norio Tatano and Eagle Sawai and Mikiko Futagami of LLPW, Battle Ranger and Koji Nakagawa and Masato Tanaka vs. Great Sasuke and Hanzo Nakajima and Shiryu and Tetsuhiro Kuroda vs. Gasaku Gashaguwara. The climactic Rock and Roll Express vs. Heavenly Bodies, both members of the losing team leave town cage match on April 1st in Pikeville, Kentucky, was reported as a 4.5 stars classic, with more heat than the Flair Vader Charlotte match. The lengthy finish saw Robert Gibson put the Gibson leglock on Tom Pritchard, but Jimmy Del Rey threw the ref into the cage so he couldn't count the pin. After a double dropkick on Pritchard, there once again was no ref to count the pin. A second ref got into the cage and Del Rey gave Ricky Morton the moonsault body block, but Morton kicked out. Finally, Cornette tossed the tennis racket to Pritchard, who hit Morton, but the first ref saw it and refused to count the pin. Del Rey tried to a powerbomb on Morton, but Morton reversed it into a Rana, similar to a Frankensteiner, and got the pin at about 23 minutes. The Bodies are scheduled to tour with All Japan in the spring and start full-time with Titan Sports in June. Cornette will remain their manager at WWF television tapings, but won't appear at ringside for their house show matches. The Bluegrass Brawl 2, which featured a second 4.5 stars match between Tracy Smothers and Chris Candido, drew 1,850 fans, which filled all the seats, but they sold 150 less standing room than last year's 2,000 tickets, totaling $11,000, which was the fourth largest crowd in SMW's 2-year history. Smothers and Candido did a ladder match which was said to have been completely different from the WrestleMania match, and contained a lot more and better wrestling spots along with the daredevil bumps off the ladder, although nobody was comparing an individual performance with that of Shawn Michaels. In this match, as both men were trading punches at the top of the ladder broke and both took a bump, and to do the planned finish, ref Mark Curtis had to hold the ladder together while Smothers climbed it and got the money hung from the ceiling. In the street fight match, both team members must be stripped to underwear to lose, with Brian Lee and Tammy Fitch versus Dirty White Boy and Dirty White Girl. They stripped Lee down from his street clothes to wrestling trunks. Fitch then ran under the ring and White Girl went after her, then came up holding a workout outfit, bra and panties to be awarded the win. Candido then came to ringside with a duffel bag and Fitch came out from under the ring wrapped in a towel. It was bound to happen with the success of AAA Wrestling in California. EMLL, the number 2 wrestling promotion in Mexico, has signed a deal with California promoter Karl Lauer to begin running a regular series of shows at the Grand Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles starting in mid-May. As it has been explained, the shows will consist of approximately 16 EMLL stars augmented by local wrestlers for combined American and Lucha shows. AAA has generally sent 24 wrestlers per show on its California tours. The plan is to run every other Friday at the Olympic, the same schedule the arena ran for major shows during its glory days in the late 60s and early 70s when Fred Blassie, Mil Mascaras and John Tolos almost routinely sold out the big shows to the point Los Angeles became the first promotion in the country to close circuit its biggest cards in around 1971. Adding a second Mexican promotion combined with WWF still a strong presence in the market as it still draws about 6,000 fans for bi-monthly cards, will almost have to take the edge off the AAA IWC quarterly shows that have averaged 14,000 fans and $226,000 per show up to this point. While it is a virtual certainty that the first MLL show at the Olympic will draw a big house, EMLL doesn't look to have enough to sustain business in this country at a profitable level for the long haul, going bi-weekly and mixing too much American talent into the cards as past efforts of promoting Lucha Libre in that market have been victimized by. In the summer of 1992, when the local promoters switched from aligning with AAA TOE MLL, they went from $120,000 down to $250,000 shows, 3,000 plus. With Vampire and Atlantis, and then after a few shows the crowds fell off to virtually nothing and the promotion closed the tent. At press time we only have sketchy details of the second Union of Pro Wrestling Force International United States pay-per-view taping which took place on April 3 at the Osaka Castle Hall before 14,000 fans, about 1,000 shy of capacity. The pay-per-view show will consist of 8 matches, 6 of which will be first-round matches from the big tournament. UFI is running through August 18. The only match on the show that isn't scheduled to air is Super Vader vs. Salman Hashimov, a former Soviet 5-time amateur world heavyweight champ who had a brief run as a big draw with New Japan and even won the IWGP Pro title 1 month after his debut 1989. Trivia question and useless trivia: who did he beat for the title? Answer: Big Van Vader. Behind the scenes question: how did that happen? Originally Hashimov wasn't supposed to win the title that night. However, he was supposed to pin Steve Williams, who at the time worked for New Japan, but Williams refused to him over probably the last vestiges of the Bill Watts anti-Russian mind control still hadn't evaporated, so New Japan wanted Hashimov to beat a big American and Williams was unwilling, so Vader, who held the title, was asked and, probably for a big bonus although that isn't for sure, he agreed to do so. Anyway, the rematch took less time than it took you to read that story, with Vader winning with a leglock submission to advance into the tournament's next round. In the tourney matches that will air on the pay-per-view, Kiyoshi Tamura knocked out Bad News Allen in 6:11, Gene Leidick made Vladimir Berkovich submit to an armlock in 9:40, Yoji Angio made Viktor Zangyev submit to an armlock in 5:54, Masahito Kakihara made Dan Severn submit to an ankle lock in 10:39, Gary Albright knocked out Billy Scott in 2:11, after his dangerous dragon suplex, and in the main event, Nobuhiko Takada defeated longtime rival Kazuo Yamazaki in 7:17 with an armlock. No word on the quality of the matches other than one report stated Angio Zangyev was the best match and Zangyev's flying suplexes got big crowd response. I expect we'll have more details in time for next issue. My gut feeling is these matches are all shorter than previous UFI shows so they can cram more action into a shorter period and thus appear less boring to a casual viewer unfamiliar with what they are doing, i.e. the US audience. Only problem is, the casual viewer won't even be watching. Or perhaps because Japanese shoot fans have seen or heard about Pancrase, which has short matches because supposedly they are completely legit, and US audience has now seen Ultimate Fight with the same situation, so with the goal being to make it look totally legitimate, the matches can't go long because the smart shoot viewer in both countries now realizes most matches and legitimate shoots don't last very long. Dennis Kozlowski was scheduled to wrestle Naoki Sano on this show in a tournament match, but Kozlowski's contract expired and he asked for a raise and both sides didn't come to terms before the match, so Kozlowski no-showed, announced in the building as due to a training injury, and Sano got a forfeit win. Johan's Front Row Entertainment, which presents this card called Shoot Wrestling 2 on pay-per-view on April 16, in its press releases gave Kozlowski, who is training for the Atlanta Olympics, third billing on the show behind Takada and Albright. The tournament's second round, which takes place May 6 at Budokan Hall in Tokyo, will have Vader vs. Kakihara, Tamura vs. Sano, Albright vs. Angio, and Takada vs. Leidick. Results: March 19, Toluca Baseball Stadium, AAA 20,000, Prelim results unavailable. Lola Gonzalez and Vicky Carranza and Pantera Serena B. Martha Villalobos and Mujer Salvaje and Shitara DQ 1 star, Volador and an Angel Azteca and winners B. Misterioso and Solar and Super Colo 3 and 1/2 stars, Octagon and Tiger Mask and Phantasma B. Pirata Morgan and Fuerza Guerrera and Blue Panther 3.25 stars. Conan El Barbaro and Heavy Metal and Pero Aguayo B. Fishman and Jerry Estrada and Black Cat DQ 2 stars. March 21st Leon AAA 10,000 sellout, prelim results unavailable, Tony Arce and Vulcano and Rocco Valente B. Misterioso and Volador and Angel Azteca 2905 3 stars, El Hijo del Santo and Pero Aguayo and Liz Mark B. Psicosis and El Satanico and Espectro Jr. DQ 2153 3.75 stars, Cien Caras and Mascara Año 2000 and Universo 2000 B. Love Machine and Black Cat and Chicano Powered DQ 2.5 stars. March 22nd Louisville, Kentucky USWA, 750 Leon Downs B. Colorado Kid, Skull Von Crush D. Rick Savage, Doug Gilbert B. Jeff Gaylord Moondog Rex B. Spellbinder, USWA title, Tommy Rich B. Brian Christopher DQ, Rich and Doug Gilbert and Moondogs B. Christopher and Savage and Gaylord and Spellbinder. March 24th Americus, Georgia, Peach State Wrestling, 650 R.D. Swain and Ray Lloyd B. Mike and Paul Golden, Scott Stud B. Dale Lucas DQ, Rob Van Dam Kerr Greg Valentine Van Dam D. Billy Black, Rock and Roll Express B. The Nightmare, Ted Allen and The Flame Daryl Gower, Dick Slater B. Jake Roberts DQ. March 25th Aschaffenburg, Germany WWF, Adam Bomb B. Rick Martel WWF Women's title, Alundra Blaze B. Leilani Kai, Randy Savage B. Crush, IC title, Razor Ramon B. Shawn Michaels, Sparky Plug B. Bastion Booger, Smoking Guns B. Head Shrinkers, Lex Luger B. Yokozuna Core. March 25th Thomaston, Georgia, All-Star Wrestling 925, Brooklyn Stud B. Ray Lloyd, Giant Kimala 2 B. Scott Stud, Bambi B. Amazon Queen, Rob Van Dam B. The Punisher, Jake Roberts B. Dick Slater. March 25th Bellingham, Massachusetts, IWF, 1000 sellout to Eliminator B. Mike Davis, Brittany Brown and Mark Yahoo B. Diana Doucette and Snooky Fink, Smooth Operator B. Outpatient, Tony Roy B. Chris Duffy, Perry Saturn B. Mike Hollow The Warlord B. Bulldozer. March 25th Beloit, Wisconsin Mid-American Wrestling, 235, Great Yojo B. Mike Blatnick, Johnny Mercedes 1 Battle Royal, Rutger Von Nitsch B. Farmer Vic, Frankie DeFalco B. Tony Ramone, Love Brothers DDQ Wave Riders, J. Hayby B. Madison Badger, Jawbreaker Jones B. Mercedes. March 25th West Allis, Wisconsin Mid-American Wrestling, 276, Mike Blatnick B. Brewtown Bad Boy Illinois State Trooper 1 Battle Royal, Great Yojo D. Randy Fox, Frankie DeFalco B. Frank James Core, Flying Tigers, Wave Riders, B. Love Brothers to win tag titles, Farmer Vic B. Rutger Von Nitsch DQ, Jawbreaker Jones DDQ Illinois State Trooper. March 25th Union, South Carolina, Big Time Wrestling 97, Bad Dog and Dozer and Billy Ray Bad B. Jackson Harley and Bill Harley and Funktown Kid, Bobby Rose B. American GI, Rich Scruggs, Kid B. Dog Core, Samoan Ty B. Masked Muller, Bo Dalton and Scotty Piper B. J. Eagle and Jimmy Red Cloud to win national tag titles. March 26th Cardiff, Wales, WWF, Quang B. 123 Kid, IRS B. Doink the Clown, Diesel B. Tatanka Earthquake B. Bam Bam Bigelow, Jeff Jarrett B. Coco Ware, WWF tag title, Men on Mission B. Quebecers DQ, WWF title, Bret Hart B. Owen Hart 3.25 stars. March 26th Hazelhurst, Georgia, All-Star Wrestling, 575, Rocking Randy B. Psycho Rick, Brute Force B. Mexican Connection, Scott Stud B. Tommy Landell, Dick Slater B. Jake Roberts, Rob Van Dam B. Luscious Lonnie. March 26th Grafton, Massachusetts, IWF, 600, Ronnie D. B. Chris Duffy, Brittany Brown B. Jamie Westcore, Smooth Operator B. Outpatient, Ron Race B. Mike Hollow, Tony Roy B. Russian Mauler, Perry Saturn B. El Mascarado, The Warlord B. Bulldozer. March 26th Forest City, North Carolina, Eastern Wrestling Federation 90, Rico B. Adolf Sadernowski, Rattlesnake Westbrook DDQ Mad Dog Malone, Rebel Stud and Kenny V. B. Keith Davis and Bad Dog, Jeff Hamrick B. Rick Star, Greg Hart B. Jake Skipper, Chris Hamrick B. Tommy Rich DQ. March 26th Bayonne, New Jersey, Universal Wrestling Superstars, Bodyguard for Hire B. Kodiak Bear, Gino Caruso D. Chris Michaels, Johnny Handsome B. Abuda Singh DQ, Cousin Luke B. Hollywood Kid South Dakota, Jones B. Metal Maniac, Jimmy Snuka B. Iron Sheik. March 26th Central City, Kentucky, Tri-States Wrestling, New Dog B. Scrapin' Scott, Sheik Ali Ben Khan B. Mark Adcock, Dan Shannon B. Robbie Sexton, Madman Pondo and Sledge B. Doug Basham and Flash Flanagan, Itman Louie B. Mike Samples. March 27th Dortmund, Germany, WWF, 12,000, Adam Bomb B. Rick Martel, Sparky Plug B. Bastion Booger, Randy Savage B. Crush, IC title, Razor Ramon b. Shawn Michaels, Smoking Guns b. Head Shrinkers, WWF Women's title, Alundra Blaze b. Leilani Kai, Lex Luger b. Yokozuna Core. March 27, Glasgow, Scotland, WWF, Quang b. 123 Kid Core, IRS b. Doink the Clown, Diesel b. Tatanka, Earthquake b. Bam Bam Bigelow, Jeff Jarrett b. Coco Ware, WWF Tag title, Men on Mission b. Quebecers DQ, WWF title, Bret Hart b. Owen Hart. March 27, Morristown, New Jersey, East Coast Pro Wrestling, Infernal Kid b. Jason Elliott, The Annihilator b. Memphis Maniac, Powerhouse Chuck b. Rocky Jones, Metalhead b. Gino Caruso, Cage Match, Dennis Knight b. Spanish Fly. March 27, Jeffersonville, Indiana, Tri-States Wrestling, Brad Bishop b. Tony, Dan Childers b. Jim Florence, Jerry Faith b. Juan Hurtado, The Rustlers b. Kevin and Troy Haste, Mike Samples b. Danny Davis. March 28, Manchester, England, WWF, 4000, Quang b. Coco were 1/2 star, Earthquake b. IRS Dud, Diesel b. 123 Kid 2 1/4 stars, Bam Bam Bigelow b. Tatanka 2.5 stars, Jeff Jarrett b. Doink the Clown 2 stars, WWF Tag title, Quebecers b. Men on Mission 1 1/4 stars, WWF title, Bret Hart b. Owen Hart 22053 1/2 stars. March 28, Tokyo Bay and K Hall, New Japan, 3500, Yuji Nagata b. Tokumitsu Ishizawa, Satoshi Kojima b. Tada Yasuda, Akira Nagami and Takayuki Iizuka b. Manabu Nakanishi and El Samurai, Yuki Ishikawa b. Tatsuhito Takawa, Jushin Liger b. Shinjiro Otani, Power Warrior b. Michiyoshi Ohara, 2 of 3 falls, Akatoshi Saito and Kunyaki Kobayashi and Great Kabuki and Kengo Kimura b. Hiro Saito and Norio Oniga and Shinichi Nakano and Yoshiaki Yatsu 2455, Shinya Hashimoto and Masachono and Keiji Muto and Hiroshi Hazi b. Riki Choshu and Tatsumi Fujinami and Yoshiaki Fujiwara and Osamu Kido. March 28, Nagaoka, All Japan, 4100 sellout, Satoru Osako b. Kentaro Shiga, Tsuyoshi Kikuchi b. Misao Inoue, Johnny Smith b. Tamon Honda, Rusher Kimura and Mighty Inoue and Mitsuo Momoto b. Haruka Eigen and Masafuchi and Ryukaku Izumida, Jun Akiyama b. John Noor, Steve Williams and Johnny Ace b. Dan Crawford and The Eagle, Kena Kobashi b. Doug Furness, Giant Baba and Stan Hansen and Takao Mori b. Toshiaki Kauda and Akira Tao and Yoshinari Ogawa 2021. March 28, Memphis, USWA 1000, Jeff Gaylord b. Ken Wayne DQ, The Spellbinder, Del Rios, The Leon Downs, Skull Von Crush b. Todd Morton, Elimination Tag, Spellbinder and Gaylord and Morton b. Wayne and Downs and Von Crush, Dirty White Girl b. Susan Sapphire, USWA Tag Title, Moondogs b. Billy Travis and Don Bass, SMW Title, Dirty White Boy b. Doug Gilbert DQ, USWA Title, Brian Christopher b. Stephen Dunn, Unified Title, Jerry Lawler DDQ Dream Machine, Pile Driver Match, Doug Gilbert and Rich B. Lawler and Christopher. March 28, Suzhou WAR, Rumi Kazama and Otaku Hozumi b. Harley Saito and Mikigo Futagami, Arashi and Yamato b. Koki Kitahara and Nobukazu Hirai, Corazon de Leon, SMW Chris Jericho, B. Norman Smiley, EMLL Black Magic, Masanobu Kurisu and Masao Orihara b. Geto and Jado, Takashi Ishikawa b. Kim Duke, Ashura Hara and Super Strong Machine and King Haku b. Genichiro Tenryu and Hiromichi Fuyuki and Koji Shinriki. March 28, Omagari FMW, 2823, prelim results unavailable, The Sheik and Sabu DDQ Big Titan and Riki Fuji, Combat Toyota, and Crusher Maidamari and Shark Tsuchiya and Sapuri Mac b. Megumi Kudo and Miwa Sato and Yuki Nabano and Nurse Nakamura, Tarzan Goto b. Hideki Hasaka, No Rope Barbed Wire Street Fight Tornado Death Match, Atsushi Onita and Samba Asako b. Mr. Pogo and Goro Tsurumi. March 28, Funahiki Michinoku Pro 261 sellout, Now Hero Hoshikawa b. Shiryu, Wellington Wilkins Jr. b. Masato Yakashiji, Wilkins b. Hoshikawa, Taka Michinoku b. Shiryu, Super Delphin and Jinsei Shinzaki and Yone Jinjin b. Great Sasuke and Leon Guerrero and Kazumichi Nakajima. March 28, Tampa, Florida Wrestling Alliance, Bill Payne b. White Shadow, Manny Fernandez b. Kevin Scott Core, Haystacks Calhoun Jr. b. Red Devil, Billy Mack DDQ Garbage Man, Armed Forces b. Jeff Bradley and the Viper. March 29, London, England, WWF, 3000, Quang b. 123 Kid, Diesel b. Tatanka IRS b. Doink the Clown, Earthquake b. Bam Bam Bigelow, Jeff Jarrett b. Coco Ware, WWF Tag Titles, Men on Mission b. Quebecers to win titles, WWF Title, Bret Hart b. Owen Hart. March 29, Toyama, All Japan, 4450 sellout, Masao Inoue b. Kentaro Shiga, Rusher Kimura and Mitsuo Momoto b. Satoru Asako and Haruka Eigen, Dan Crawford and Doug Furness b Tamon Honda and Yoshinari Ogawa, Akira Tao and Masafuchi and Takao Mori b Giant Baba and Jun Akiyama and Tsuyoshi Kikuchi 23:35. Kenta Kobashi b Johnny Smith, Stan Hansen and John Norby the Eagle and Johnny Ace, Toshiaki Kawada d Steve Williams 30 minutes. March 29th Manami Ashikaga FMW, 3,250 sellout, Riki Fuji v Battle Ranger, Katsutoshi Niyama b Damien, Keiko Iwama and Yuki Nabano and Miwa Sato and Megumi Kudo beat Sapuri Mac and Crusher Matamari and Shark Tsuchiya and Combat Toyota. The Sheik and Sabu DDQ Mr. Pogo and Hideki Hasaka. Tarzan Goto b Goro Tsurumi. World Brass Knucks Tag Title The Gladiator and Big Titan b Atsushi Onita and Samba Asako. March 29th Okada of War, 2,600 sellout, Carol Midori b Mikiko Futagami, Harley Saito and Otaku Hozumi b Michiko Omukai and Rumi Kazama, Masanobu Kurisu b Matsuoka, Norman Smiley b Corazon de Leon, Shirahara b Koji Shinriki, Arashi b Nobakazu Hirai, Takashi Ishikawa b Kim Duke, Masao Orihara b Jado, Super Strong Machine b Hiramichi Fuyuki, Genichiro Tenryu and Koki Kitahara b King Haku in Ghetto. March 30th Peterborough, England, WWF, Quang b Coco Ware, Diesel b 123 Kid, Earthquake b IRS, Bam Bam Bigelow b Tatanka, Jeff Jarrett b Doink the Clown, WWF Tag Title, Men on Mission b Quebecers, WWF Title, Bret Hart b Owen Hart. March 30th Atlanta Center Stage, WCW Saturday Night Taping, 785 sellout / all freebies, a few paid by the promotion to attend, non-squash results, Arnold Anderson b Hiatt DQ, Paul Diamond, Steve Kieran and Bobby Eaton b Thunder and Lightning, Terrorizing D Terry Taylor, Harlem Heat and Ron Simmons b Marcus Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio and Ice Train, Kieran and Eaton b Sullivan Brothers DQ, Rick Steamboat and Arnold Anderson b Tanaka-san, Pat Tanaka, and Hayato. March 30th Fukui, All Japan, 2,900 Mitsuo Momota b Kentaro Shiga, Rusher Kimura and Mighty Inoue b Satoru Asako and Haruka Eigen, Johnny Ace b John Nor, Dan Crawford and Johnny Smith b Tamon Honda and Yoshinari Ogawa, Steve Williams b Doug Furness, Akira Tao b The Eagle, Stan Hansen b Jun Akiyama, Giant Baba and Kenta Kobashi and Tsuyoshi Kikuchi b Toshiaki Kawada and Masafuchi and Takao and Mori 2901. March 30th Naha All Japan Women, 3,300 sellout, Kumiko Makawa b Ri Tamada, Chikako Shiratori b Chap Arata Asari, Suzuka Manami and Manami Toyota b Tomoko Watanabe and Bull Nakano Tashio Yamada b Kaoru Ito, UWA Tag Title, Nima Shimoda and Atsuko Mita b Takako Inoue and Yumiko Hata to win titles 2203, Asia Kong and Saki Hasegawa b Kyoko Inoue and Reggie Bennett. March 30th Niage War, 1,900 sellout, Rumi Kazama and Harley Saito b Carol Midori and Mikiko Futagami, Yamada b Matsuoka, Corazon de Leon b Nobakazu Hirai, Norman Smiley b Masanobu Kurisu, Koji Shinriki b Kim Duke, Ultimo Dragon and Takashi Ishikawa b Geto and Jado, Rashi and King Haku and Ashurahara b Genichiro Tenryu and Hiramichi Fuyuki and Koki Kitahara. March 30th Kawanishi Michinoku Pro 183, Masato Yakashiji d Naohiro Hoshikawa, Yone Jinjin DDQ Wellington Wilkins Jr., Terry Boy b Monkey Magic, Leon Guerrero b Shiryu, Jinsei Shinzaki and Super Delphin b Great Sasuke and Taka Michinoku. March 31st Sheffield, England WWF, Quang b 123 Kid, Diesel b Tatanka IRS b Doink the Clown, Earthquake b Bam Bam Bigelow, Jeff Jarrett b Coco Ware, WWF Tag Title, Quebecers b Men on Mission to regain titles, WWF Title, Bret Hart b Owen Hart. March 31st Nayaro All Japan Women, 2,100 sellout, Kumiko Makawa b Mikiyoko Okinawa Tag Team Tournament, Takako Inoue and Tashio Yamada b Suzuka Manami and Kaoru Ito, Kyoko Inoue and Reggie Bennett b Bull Nakano and Chikako Shiratori, Etsuko Mita and Mima Shimoda b Asia Kong and Ri Tamada, Manami Toyota and Saki Hasegawa b Yumiko Hata and Tomoko Watanabe, Takako Inoue and Yamada b Mita and Shimoda, Toyota and Hasegawa b Bennett and Kyoko Inoue. March 31st Noshiro Michinoku Pro 1520, Kerry Boy b Masato Yakashiji Taka Michinoku b Naohiro Hoshikawa, Yone Jinjin DDQ Wellington Wilkins Jr., Shiryu and Leon Guerrero b Super Delphin and Monkey Magic, Great Sasuke DDQ Jinsei Shinzaki 2205. March 31st Shelbyville, Tennessee Allstate Pro Wrestling, Big Bubba b Big Tiny and Top Gun, Rex Ryder d Chris Kearns, Billy Montana and Ken Arden DDQ Bongo Cool and Ryder, Bono b Glenn Mullins, Tracy Smothers b Gypsy Joe. April 1st Pikeville, Kentucky SMW, 1,850 sellout, Killer Kyle b Anthony Michaels 1/2 star, Lance Storm b Stephen Dunn 2 stars, Storm b Timothy Well ladder match, Tracy Smothers b Chris Condito 4.5 stars, handicap match, Jim Cornette and Bruiser Bedlam, Johnny K9, B. Bob Armstrong 1 star. Dirty White Boy and Dirty White Girl B. Brian Lee and Tammy Fitch 2.5 stars. Loser leaves town cage match for SMW tag title. Rock and Roll Express B. Heavenly Bodies 4.5 stars. April 1st Okayama, All Japan, 2,800 sellout. Satoru Asako B. Kentaro Shiga, Masao Inoue B. Tawon Honda Haruka Eigen and Masafuchi B. Mitsuo Momoda and Rusher Kimura. Dan Crawford and Doug Furness B. John Noren and Johnny Smith, Kena Kobashi and Tsuyoshi Kikuchi B. Akira Tao and Yoshinari Ogawa, Toshiaki Kaoda B. Jun Akiyama, Giant Baba and Stan Hansen and Takawa Mori B. Steve Williams and The Eagle and Johnny Ace. April 1st Tokyo Korakuen Hall War, 2,100 sellout. Yasha Kuranaya and Michiko Nagashima B. Carol Midori and Mikiko Futagami, Ultimo Dragon B. Geto, Koji Shinriki B. Yamato, Nobukazu Hirai B. Norman Smiley, Jato B. Corazon de Leon, Super Strong Machine B. Masanobu Kurisu, Kim Duke B. Takashi Ishikawa, Genichiro Tenryu and Hiromichi Fuyuki and Koki Kitahara B. King Haku and Ashura Hara and Arashi. April 1st Okinawa, All Japan Women, 3,200 sellout. Kumiko Makawa B. Mikiyoko, Ri Tamada B. Chikako Shiratori, Mima Shimoda B. Tomoko Watanabe, Atsuko Mita B. Kaoru Ito, Bull Nakano and Asia Kong and Reggie Bennett B. Yumiko Hata and Suzuka Manami and Kyoko Inoue, Okinawa Cup Tag Tourney Final, Manami Toyota and Saki Hasegawa B. Takako Inoue and Tashio Yamada. April 1st Dallas Sportatorium GWF, 750-150 paid, Mike Davis B. John Hawk DQ, Rico Suave and Danny Davis B. Stephen Dane and Chaz Taylor, Mark Valiant B. Black Bart, Jeep Swenson B. Modib DQ, Scott Putski B. Danny Davis, Mike Davis B. The Intruder, GWF title, Rod Price B. Chris Adams to win title, Terry Gordy and Jimmy Garvin B. Bart and Hawk DQ. April 1st Dallas Big D 171 Terry Sims and Chris Rocks B. Kit Carson and Broadway Danny, Elgato Negro B. El Che, Mike Andrews B. Plowboy Wilbur DQ, Bill Irwin and Nick Golden B. High Voltage, Big D B. Ray Evans, El Medico B. Condor Azul, Mr. B. Tim Brooks DQ. April 1st Indianapolis, Championship Wrestling America, 350, Jerry Faith B. Dan Anderson, Nick B. Madman Pondo, Doug O'Briley and Flash Flanagan B. Barroom Brawlers, Sean Casey B. Danny Davis, Mike Samples B. The Comet, Derek Stone. April 2nd Izumo All Japan, 2,900, Johnny Ace B. Doug Furness, Giant Baba and Rusher Kimura and Mitsuo Momoda B. Haruka Eigen and Masafuchi and Ryukaku Izumida. Steve Williams B. Johnny Smith, Stan Hansen and Takao Mori B. The Eagle and Dan Crawford, and Kobashi B. John Nor, Toshiaki Kawada and Akira Tao and Yoshinari Ogawa B. Mitsuharu Masawa and Jun Akiyama and Satoru Asako 2340. April 2nd Barberville, Kentucky SMW 475, Tracy Smothers B. The Hornet Dud, Lance Storm B. Timothy Well 2 stars, SMW title Dirty White Boy B. Killer Kyle 1.5 star, Bruiser Bedlam B. Bob Armstrong 1 star, SMW tag title, Rock and Roll Express B. Brian Lee and Chris Condito DQ 2.5 stars. April 2nd Clementon, New Jersey WWA, 717 Father Ed B. Stryker, Frank Finnegan B. East LA DQ, Boy Gone Bad B. Rich Myers, Misty Blue B. Nasty Angel, Jim Duggan B. Abutta Singh Core, Dwayne and Wayne Gill B. Spiders Ton win WWA tag titles, Bushwhackers B. Super Jocks. April 2nd Central City, Kentucky, Tri-State Wrestling, 250, Jerry Faith B. Mark Adcock, Terry Adonis B. New Dog, Doug Bashan and Flash Flanagan B. Madman Pondo and Sledge, Dan Shannon and William the Lion B. David Adcock and Kevin Haste, Mike Samples B. Hitman Louie. April 2nd Lima, Ohio ICW 200, One Night Tournament, Al Snow B. Rick Keller, Steve Nixon B. Bobby Clancy, Judge Dredd B. Lumberjack LeDuc, Reno Havoc B. Mark Bryant, Shino B. Snow, B. Pete the Pirate, Sabu B. Otis Apollo, Mike Kelly B. Canadian Kodiak, Randy Mullins B. Scott Damore, Snow B. Nixon, Dredd B. Havoc, Sabu B. Shinobi, Mullins B. Kelly, Snow B. Dredd, Mickey Doyle B. Rock Stevens, Snow B. Sabu to win tournament. April 2nd Grand Sailing, Texas, Tom Lano Promotions, The Avenger Chris Adams, B. Bobby Chase, Tasha Simone Love B. Nasty Girl, Treach Phillips Jr. B. Ed Robinson, Calvin Knapp B. Pretty Boy Jimmy, Adams B. King Parsons, Adams won Battle Royal. April 2nd Portland, Oregon, Oregon Pro Wrestling Federation, The Bodyguard B. Dirty White Boy Bobby Blair, Billy Two Eagles B. Timothy Flowers DQ, Firefighter Adrian D. Wright Maker, John Rambo B. Ole Olson, Moondog Moretti B. Buddy Wayne Core, Jimmy Snuka and Mike Miller B. Scott Norton and Buddy Rose. April 2nd Center Alabama, Bama Pro Wrestling, Billy Montana and Frankie Lee, Tracy Black B. Sam Colt DQ, Steve and Scott Armstrong B. Mr. Atlanta, Tony Zane and the Nightmare, Ted Allen, Richie Dye B. Big Bubba, Colt D. David Young, Todd Zane and War Daddy B. Mr. Vane and Tim Strong DQ. April 3, Tokyo Korakuen Hall, New Japan, 2000 sellout, Shinjiro Otani b Tokumitsu Ishizawa, Manabu Nakanishi b Tatsuhito Takaiwa 1 Royal Rumble Rules Battle Royal, Power Warrior, and Hiroshi Hazubi Akira Nagami and Takayuki Iizuka 2539, Akatoshi Saito b Yuji Nagata, Great Kabuki b Satoshi Kojima, Kengo Kimura b Tada Yasuda, Elimination Tag Match, Michiyoshi Ohara and Kunyaki Kobayashi and Tatsutoshi Goto and Shiro Koshinaka b Norio Onaga and Hiro Saito and Yoshiaki Yatsu and Shinichi Nakano 2738. April 3, Tokyo Korakuen Hall, All Japan Women, 1800, prelim results unavailable, Bull Nakano b Reggie Bennett, Asia Kong and Toshio Yamada b Saki Hasegawa and Yumiko Hata 3139. April 3, Jeffersonville, Indiana, Tri-State Wrestling, Troy Haste b Jake Farler, Kevin Haste b Jim Florence, Jerry Faith b Juan Hurtado, Mike Samples and the Rustlers b Danny Davis and Troy Haste and Kevin Haste. April 4, Hiroshima, New Japan, 7,875 sellout, prelim results unavailable, Akira Nagami and Takayuki Iizuka Power Warrior and Satoshi Kojima, Norio Onaga and Hiro Saito and Yoshiaki Yatsu and Shinichi Nakano b Michiyoshi Ohara and Kunyaki Kobayashi and Kengo Kimura and Shiro Koshinaka. Rick and Scott Steiner b Jushin Liger and Wild Pegasus, Antonio Inoki and Hiroshi Hazubi Yoshiaki Fujiwara and Yuki Ishikawa, Riki Choshu and Genichiro Tenryu b Great Muta and Masachono, IWGP HWT title, Tatsumi Fujinami b Shinya Hashimoto to win title. April 4, Clinton, Tennessee, SMW TV taping 400, Thrill Seekers b Chris Hamrick and the Hornet, SMW TV title, Bruiser Bedlam b Mike Furness to win title, Ricky Morton b Brian Lee DQ, Rock and Roll Express b Killer Kyle and Dark Secret, Brian Armstrong, SMW TV title, Bedlam b Bobby Blaze, Lee and Chris Condito b Anthony Michaels and Hamrick, SMW title, Dirty White Boy b Prince Cars, Well Done b Michaels and Blaze, Kendo the Samurai b Brian Logan, Ryan Keys, SMW TV title, Bedlam b Tracy Smothers, Thrill Seekers b Kyle and Inferno, Michaels, White Boy b Secret, SMW TV title, Bedlam b Hamrick, Thrill Seekers b Well Done. Special thanks to Brian Hildebrand, Rick Bentley, Shannon Rose, Jason Meyer, Greg Price, John Muse, Christian Bunderliz, David Wright, Dan Paris, Scott Hudson, Michael Crockett, Jerry Faith, Kim Lamberth, John Kowalski, Karen Moore, Shelby Adcock, Sal Corrente, Scott Lemmer, Timothy Walker, Oliver Holman, Gabe Stefan, Bruce Mitchell. All Japan. No major surprises thus far in the Champion Carnival tournament, as all the remaining contenders, with Mitsuharu Misawa having forfeited his matches, continue to win, and the only match this week among contenders was a 30-minute draw on March 29 in Toyama between Toshiaki Kawada and Steve Williams. Standings as of April 4 are, Stan Hansen 6-0-0, 12 points, Hana Kobashi 5-0-1, 11 points, Steve Williams 5-0-1, 11 points, Toshiaki Kawada 4-1-1, 9 points, Johnny Smith 8, Akira Tao 3-0-1, 7 points, Jun Akiyama 4, John Knorr 4, The Eagle 2, Doug Furness 0, Johnny Smith 0. Misawa, who was originally expected to be out until the next tour, returned on April 2 in a 6-man tag and worked his fair share, about 8 minutes of a 23-40 match teaming with Jun Akiyama and Satoru Asako to lose to Kawada and Tao and Yoshinari Ogawa. Misawa sold most of the way. Misawa will have a non-tournament singles match on April 11 against Kawada, which I can only assume is because Kawada was supposed to pin Misawa for the first time in a singles match in the tournament this month, but Misawa's injury prevented that aspect of the storyline from happening. Final 2 television shows before the TV moved into television purgatory on April 2 were the March 20 show doing a 4.1 rating and March 27 did a 2.8. New Japan. Initial reports we've received are that the April 4 Hiroshima Green Arena show, which headlined with the Fujinami Hashimoto title change, was the company's hottest show of the year from top to bottom. The semi-final on the show saw Riki Choshu and Genichiro Tenryu beat Keiji Muto and Masa Chono in a weird match. Early in the match, Muto walked out on his partner to the dressing room and Chono was left 1-on-2. A few minutes later, the great Muta, face-painted, new ring outfit, ran to the ring and made a big comeback. Choshu still pinned Muta to win the fall. Antonio Inoki wrestled, adopting more of a shoot-style technique, teaming with Hiroshi Hazu to beat Yuki Ishikawa and Yoshiaki Fujiwara when Inoki used a sleeper on Ishikawa, while Rick and Scott Steiner beat Jushin Liger and Wild Pegasus in 14:03 when Scott pinned Liger with a Frankensteiner. The complete Fukuoka Dome lineup will probably be announced on April 8 as New Japan has a press conference scheduled that day. It is expected that Inoki vs. Muta will be the main event and that Satoru Sayama will return and wrestle against either Liger or Tiger Mask. I'd suspect the latter, as there would be a major credibility problem with out-of-shape Sayama beating Liger right now, and obviously Sayama can't lose before his match with Inoki. Magazines really made fun of how fat Sayama got when he was in the ring at the March 16 Tokyo Gymnasium show, and New Japan PR announced that Sayama had gone to the mountains to train for his comeback since he needs to lose 40 to 50 pounds. The current tour, which began on April 3 and lasts until April 15, has no foreign talent except for Pegasus and Steiner's brought in for the April 4 show. Major shows are April 7 in Kumamoto, Choshu and Fujiwara vs. Hazi and Chono, Liger and Power vs. Fujinami and Masa Saito. April 11 in Koz, Choshu and Masa vs. Power and Hazi, Fujinami and Tada Yasuda vs. Kengo Kimura and Michiyoshi Ohara, Muto and Chono and Hashimoto vs. Liger and Nagami and Izuka. April 14 in Nishiwaki, Choshu and Fujinami and Izuka and Nagami vs. Power and Hashimoto and Muto and Chono, Hazi vs. Kabuki, and April 15 in Okazaki, Choshu and Yasuda vs. Hazi and Chono, Fujinami and Masa and Kido vs. Hashimoto and Muto and Power, Liger vs. Otani, Yatsu vs. Kobayashi. New Japan failed to sell out its second straight Tokyo show on March 28 at the NK Hall, drawing 3,500, 7,000 capacity, for the start of the feud between the present generation, Hashimoto and Muto and Chono and Hazi, versus past generation, Choshu and Fujinami and Fujiwara and Kido, when Hashimoto pinned Kido. Considering it was the first match of what is supposed to be a long feud, it was not an auspicious beginning. Everything involving Inoki is still edited off television, as the TV Asahi network refuses to air his matches because of his political scandals. Here are the supposed reasons for Gran Hamada, Sabu and Ultimo Dragon not being on the All-Star Junior Wars show on April 16. Supposedly Hamada agreed, however full President Hisatsune Shinma refused to allow him to go since it would mean doing a job. Sabu was told by Onita that they didn't want to send him because he'd have to do a job in the first round. It was announced that Dragon's schedule in Mexico wouldn't allow him to free up that date, although that sounded suspicious since he's not involved in anything that pressing right now. Rick Rude's manager on his last tour was named Lady Love, and she didn't look familiar at all, but played a part in several of Rude's matches. In the March 24 match where Rude regained the title from Hazi, Hazi was on the top rope when she sat on the apron by him and hiked up her skirt, distracting him and allowing Rude to DDT Hazi off the top, do a full Nelson front drop, similar to a Russian leg sweep, and won via submission with a lucha double full Nelson. She also distracted the ref in Rude's single match against Chono, allowing Rude to use a low blow which led to the pin. Other Japan notes. All Japan Women had a successful 3-night tour on the island of Okinawa, with 3 sellouts. In Naha on March 30 at Tsukomita and Mima Shimoda captured the UWA, Mexico women's tag titles, beating Yumiko Hata and Takako Inoue. They held a 2-night tag team tournament for the Okinawa Tag Team Trophy on March 31 and April 1, ending up with Minami Toyota and Saki Hasegawa beating Toshio Yamada and Takako Inoue in the finals. The second straight non-sellout at Korakuen Hall took place April 3 at noon on Easter Sunday, drawing 1,800 for a nondescript show headlined by Asia Kong and Yamada over Hasegawa and Hata in 31-39 when Kong beat Hata with a sleeper. FMW completed its tour on March 29 in Minami Ashikaga, headlined by a World Brass Knucks tag title match with champs Big Titan and the Gladiator retaining, beating Atsushi Onita and Samba Asako. Next FMW tour is April 17 to May 5, climaxing with the Stadium Show. April 21 will have Titan and Gladiator defend against Mr. Pogo and Hisakatsu Oya, while May 3 in Nagoya has Terry Funk vs. Sabu. Wing appears to be right on the verge of folding, as it was left with only 4 native wrestlers, Yukihiro Kanemura, Nobutaka Araya, Shoji Nakamaki and 1 Sterringer, after Masayoshi Motegi jumped to SPWF, Fukumetro quit and rookie Hiroshi Ono suffered a broken back. On April 4, Victor Quiñones, who booked much of the foreign talent and was the group's top heel manager, announced he was leaving Wing and forming his own company called EVA, and announced Nakamaki, Araya and 1 Sterringer were coming with him, leaving Kiyoshi Ibaragi's Wing group with only 1 Japanese wrestler, his close friend Kanemura. So many expect that Wing is already history and eventually Kanemura will join with Quiñones. It is believed Quiñones' group will start May 23 at Korakuen Hall. Quiñones will book the new group but won't work as a heel manager. Pancrase April 21 in Osaka, Furitsu Gym has Minoru Suzuki vs. Thomas Puckett, Masakatsu Funaki vs. Yusuke Fuke and Wayne Shamrock vs. Ryushi Yanagisawa. It was first announced that judo gold medalist at the Barcelona Olympics, David Harashivili from Gruzia, would face Akira Maeda on the April 23 ring show in Hiroshima. However, Maeda's foe will be Peter Ura and Harashivili will debut on May 17. JWP wrestler Kandi Akutsu, who holds the All Japan Promotions junior title, broke her right elbow and is out of action. USWA. A clarification from last week. Jerry Lawler is still the booker, not Randy Hales. Hales is in charge when Lawler is in Connecticut, which is often. The big hype for the April 4th show was built around which corner downtown Bruno, Harvey Whippleman, would be in for a Jerry Lawler vs. Adam Bomb main event. Bruno, who lives in the Memphis area, has worked here as a face even though he's been a heel on WWF television for the past few years and is known to be longtime friends with Lawler. Lawler did an interview saying he hoped that Bruno would be on his side, but then they aired a taped Vince McMahon interview where McMahon said that everyone, and he meant everyone, in the WWF does exactly what he tells them to do, and he's told Bruno that he's on Adam Bomb's side. Bruno did an interview and said the people would find out Monday night whose side he'd be on. To hype Bomb, they showed a match from Superstars, but Lawler and McMahon did commentary just for the Memphis market, with McMahon doing the heel role and Lawler the face role. I don't believe Superstars is on local Memphis television anymore, although obviously the folks who have cable can see through this thing. At the March 28th show in a piledriver match, Lawler and Brian Christopher lost to Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich when Dream Machine Troy Graham interfered, so after the tape aired, Lawler announced he was calling up Jimmy Valiant to even the odds for a six-man I Quit match at the April 4th show. The Spiders, who are the same masked team from Larry Sharp's WWA, are coming in as faces managed by Burt Prentice. Mr. Perfect is scheduled to appear on the April 9th television show, although I'm not certain who the WWF will send for April 11th because they are doing Raw tapings the same night, so Lawler won't even be in Memphis for that show. Ian and Axel Rotten are supposed to be headed in as well. Besides Lawler's two matches, also on April 4th are Christopher defending against Rich, Moondogs defending against Billy Travis, and Don Bass with Ronnie Lotz in a cage at ringside, Spiders vs. Skull Von Crush and Doug Gilbert, Leon Downs vs. Jeff Gaylord, Frank Parker vs. Spellbinder, and Super Mario vs. Galaxa. Parker and Mario are in because they are friends with Valiant, and will only be around for a week or two. Most people seem to expect Eddie Gilbert back in a week or two. SMW. With the Heavenly Bodies gone, Bruiser Bedlam, Johnny K9, was brought in as Jim Cornette's new protege and is being given the monster push. Bedlam, who arrived as a mystery opponent, pinned Bob Armstrong at the house shows over the weekend, then at the April 4th television taping in Clinton, Tennessee, won the TV title from Mike Furness using the stomach claw in a quick squash. With the claw and the name, he's pretty trying to make him a copy of Dick the Bruiser, who Cornette grew up watching as the focal point of everything off Dick's own Indianapolis television show. Bedlam later at the taping made Bobby Blaze submit, which was pushed hard because Dirty White Boy was never able to make Blaze submit, and then had a match with Tracy Smothers. With Smothers on the top rope for a fourth move off the top, Cornette hit Smothers' foot with his racket, Smothers fell and was pinned. After the match, Bedlam put the claw on Smothers. Bob Armstrong ran in, but Bedlam hit him with a racket and put the claw on him. At this point, Smothers came around and hit Bedlam 3 times with the racket before Bedlam would release the claw, but Cornette threw powder at Smothers and left both laying. Smothers said he'd pick up all of Armstrong's arena commitments against Bedlam, so that'll be the main arena match, although on May 20th in Knoxville at Volunteer Slam 2 it'll be Bedlam vs. Randy Savage and Dirty White Boy defending the SMW title against Jake Roberts among other matches. Savage vs. Bedlam also takes place May 21st in Morristown and May 22nd in Marietta, Georgia. Dory Funk is coming in for Marietta, a singles match with Smothers. Leigh Thatcher is now doing color, replacing Dutch Mantle, who is now booking for the WWC in San Juan. Chris Jericho was in for the taping, so the Thrill Seekers picked up several wins, including one against Well Done, although Well Done left them laying after the win. Jericho just returned from a Japan tour with War, and was scheduled to return to MLL on April 7th for a few weeks, so won't be at the arenas until May. I'd suspect the Prince Chorus, Rob Mays, character was written out as he had a title shot against White Boy, but White Boy won the match by hitting Chorus over the head with his own loaded forearm and knocking him out. After the match, Kendo the Samurai Blue missed in White Boy's eyes, and the next week White Boy came out with a patch over one eye, so they'll be programmed at the arenas. They also continue the Rock and Roll Express feud with Brian Lee and Chris Condito over the tag titles. Morton challenged Condito to a singles match and Condito accepted, but for Lee. In the match, Tammy Fitch threw her purse in the ring, but Robert Gibson intercepted it, but it was still a DQ on Lee. Here and there. Terry Gordy had his first match since going into a coma on a flight to Japan 8 months ago on April 1st at the Dallas Sportatorium for GWF. It was billed as a Freebirds reunion, although Buddy Roberts wasn't there and Michael Hayes didn't wrestle because of back surgery 2 months ago, and he's still in a back brace. Sad to report that Gordy looked absolutely nothing like Terry Gordy in a tag match teaming with Jimmy Garvin, Ooh, as those who saw Super Brawl can certainly believe, looked so different that numerous fans thought they had put a fake Jimmy Garvin in the ring against Black Bart and John Hawk with a heel DQ finish when Skander Akbar interfered. Gordy and Garvin, managed by Hayes, are scheduled to work again on the April 15 GWF show. There has been a lot of fear from Gordy's friends that he may have suffered permanent damage during the period he was in a coma. On the same show, Rod Price won the GWF title from Chris Adams when manager Brandon Baxter shot Adams with a stun gun. The return of the Birds saw the crowd increase to about 750 and paid attendance double, but that is from like 80 to like 150. Rival Big D was supposed to do a title change the same night from Mr. to Tim Brooks, however Brooks refused to put the rookie over, so they will announce this coming week of a phantom title change with Mr. as champ, having won it in El Paso. Also on the April 1 Big D show, Plowboy Wilbur, Jim Ryder, came to the ring after jumping from GWF, took off his overalls and said his name isn't Wilbur and he was never a plowboy, turned heel on Mike Andrews and face manager Freddie Fargo, destroying Fargo, and now calling himself Devastation. Larry Sharp's next WWA show in Clementon, New Jersey is May 7th with Abdullah the Butcher vs. Abuda Singh with Sharp as ref and King Kong Bundy vs. Frank Finnegan, a local 500-pounder. Sharp's Mini Mania show with Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers on April 2nd drew a $7,800 house. April 15th somewhere in Detroit will be The Sheik vs. Abdullah the Butcher. Jim Neidhart vs. Hercules in a chain match on April 26th in Tampa, and Sabu comes to Tampa on May 17th for a match with Rob Van Dam. Speaking of Sabu, and somebody always is, he didn't refuse to put JT Smith over for the ECW TV title as was reported here. Technically it was suggested he put Smith over and he was asked about putting Smith or Tasmaniac over, and he decided he'd rather put Tasmaniac over. Junkyard Dog had a car wreck last week but showed up for several of his dates even though he couldn't work, so fans knew he wasn't no-showing. Peach State Wrestling on April 8th in Cordell, Georgia has Tommy Rich vs. Paul Golden, Scott and Steve Armstrong vs. Ray Lloyd, and R.D. Swain and Bob Armstrong vs. Mike Golden. Dennis Corluzzo has a show on April 29th in Flemington, New Jersey with Bundy vs. Tito Santana on top. Greg Price has these upcoming dates: April 9th in Metter, Georgia, Jake Roberts vs. Giant Kimala2, Rob Van Dam vs. Dick Slater, April 15th in Jessup, Georgia, same matches, and April 16th in Washington, North Carolina, Roberts vs. Slater, Van Dam vs. Greg Valentine. Ron Race worked what was probably his second match on March 26th in Grafton, Massachusetts. John Studd was in his corner. Race does a move, then look to Studd, who tells him what to do next. WWWA at the Trump Taj Mahal in Atlantic City has Nails vs. Road Warrior Hawk, Sid Vicious vs. Santana, Abdullah the Butcher vs. Rick Martel, Diamond Express vs. Demolition Axe and Blast, and Jack Hammer vs. Neidhart. ACW has a date April 23rd in Wayne, Pennsylvania with Jim Duggan vs. Damien Demento and Doink the Clown, Kieran vs. Terry Funk. Randy Powell is promoting an all-women's show on April 9th in Trinity, North Carolina, headlined by Debbie Combs vs. Leilani Kai. AAA. Anibal, who was a headliner from the late 60s until his retirement in 1993 for just about every promotion around Mexico, passed away on March 9th from brain cancer. Anibal, whose real name was Ignacio Carlos Carrillo, was one of the most legendary shooters in the history of Mexican wrestling. He had been in a coma for several months, so his death at the age of 53 came as little surprise. Anibal started wrestling in 1961 under his real name, then took the Anibal name in 1965 and debuted with MLL in 1966 in Mexico City. His first world title win was the NWA World Middleweight title when NWA meant a legitimate worldwide conglomerate of promotions, from Japan's Masao Koma in 1970 in Mexico City. He was one of the key draws that left MLL in 1975 to form UWA, which through the mid-80s became the top organization in Mexico. Eventually he went back to MLL and finally lost his mask to Universo 2000 on December 11, 1990 at Arena, Mexico. Anibal's most famous matches in Mexico were his two mask vs. hair wins over Gran Hamada and mask vs. hair wins over Pepe Tropicazas, Masao Koma, and Rene Guajardo. He jumped to AAA shortly after it formed in 1992 and continued to wrestle until diagnosed in early 1993 with the brain cancer. His son, who uses the name El Hijo de Anibal, debuted this past year for UWA. Television this weekend saw the Saturday show air the March 19th Toluca Stadium card, which really was nothing special, with no special angles or anything other than Volador pinned Misterioso in the third fall of a trios match to set up their match for the IWC middleweight title, which took place March 25th in Cancun and airs on television this coming weekend. The Sunday show was from March 21st in Leon. Saw Tony Arce and Vulcano and Rocco Valente beat Misterioso and Volador, and Angel Azteca when Misterioso refused to help his partners in the third fall and eventually reversed positions when Volador had Vulcano pinned for the third fall, which pretty well was stage 95 of the Misterioso turn. They aired a great match with Pero Aguayo and El Hijo del Santo and Lizmark beating El Satanico and Psicosis and Espectro Jr. via DQ when Psicosis gave Santo a low blow, which wound up with interviews and challenges for Santo versus Psicosis mask versus mask. I believe they were referring to Satanico Espectro Psicosis as the new Infernales trio, so they may become a regular grouping. Espectro is one of the most improved wrestlers in the world as he's gone in a short time from barely passable to very good. The main event saw a battle of heels with Los Hermanos Dinamita versus Chicano Power, and Love Machine and Black Cat in a battle of heels which saw incredible crowd support for the Dinamitas, since they were playing as Mexican heels versus American heels, in which case the Mexicans will get the crowd support. That match was shockingly good, which is a testament to Machine, who is one of the most underrated workers in the world, and Cat, who is also very underrated as New Japan has kind of buried him as a second match guy. They made that match 2.5 stars despite Chicano Power being of El Psicodelico caliber and the presence of CN Cars as the top face, who is just awful. Although he has a lot of charisma, although nobody who wasn't a fan of his for years would be able to figure out why. WCW. A few additions to the pay-per-view show. Johnny B. Bad vs. Dallas Page is scheduled as the opener, replacing Tom Zank vs. Terror Rising. In addition, a match is scheduled with Danny Bonaducci, Danny Partridge of the Partridge Family vs. Christopher Knight, Peter Brady of the Brady Bunch, which may or may not be a dark match. The two are scheduled to have a pro wrestling style match, which better be kept short. Sid Aoud's attorney is attempting to get the suit by Arnold Anderson thrown out by claiming that the state of North Carolina, where the suit was filed, has no jurisdiction. Cactus Jack may have the surgery to reattach his ear. If he does, and we've heard no definitive word, he'd have to take about 4 months off. Either way, he's supposed to be working the pay-per-view show. Steve Kieran and Bobby Eaton's tag team will be called Bad Attitude, not Bald Attitude. Kieran in that Fabs ring outfit looks positively ancient. Rick Steamboat had a hot television match with Paul Diamond that aired on Saturday. All the build-up regarding Flair Steamboat Hogan has been strong, but nothing else in the promotion comes off as that interesting. Despite all that, the Chicago lineup is the best pay-per-view lineup in a long time, and judging from the advance, will draw the most money of any house show this company has done in years. If the Hogan deals comes through, the first Flair-Hogan match will most likely be July 17th at the Great American Bash pay-per-view show from the Miami Beach Convention Center. Only house show over the weekend was April 2nd at St. Martin in the Caribbean, which drew 2,200. Ratings for the Sunday show for March 27th were the highest the show has done since the end of 1992, so therefore anything said in criticism about the show must be ignored. However, the Easter Sunday show sucked. The hosts, Gene Okerlund and Bobby Heenan, do nothing but comedy routines, and Heenan is hilarious, and Okerlund was funny until he got overbearing at the end. But they never talked about anything to do with the promotion except for Hulk Hogan, Flair, and Steamboat. The comedy is great, but it does nothing to sell the product, which should explain why the product isn't selling. Of the 4 matches, none had a real finish. Like, why can't Terry Taylor or Dallas Page beat one or the other without 8 guys interfering? What'll it do if they do a job, kill their drawing power? Ruin killer ratings for a rematch? It's not like all the interference added to an existing storyline or created a new one, it was just a match without a finish for no reason. Ditto Harlem Heat vs. Ice Train and Marcus Bagwell. Then after 3 matches with no finishes came Ric Flair, as a 100% babyface, against Steve Regal. Like the world champion headlining on a pay-per-view in 2 weeks can't even get a clean win in this promotion against a decent mid-card heel, and forget about the useless piece of tin around Regal's waist, that's all he is. Instead, when Flair gets the figure 4 on, Sir William interferes for a DQ. The announcers, Bischoff and Ventura, praise Flair as 100% face, even though the day before on TV he was 100% heel. Then after a commercial, 100% babyface Flair becomes 100% heel Flair in a tape of the previous day's interview confrontation with Steamboat and talking about Hogan. The announcers are too busy doing their stand-up routine to explain any of this to the audience, and they wonder why the company loses $6 million every year and blame it on the wrestlers being unable to draw houses. Ventura's trial in Minneapolis regarding his lawsuit against Titan Sports was still going at press time. Vince McMahon won't be testifying in his company's defense. Titan instead sent Doug Sagis, comptroller, and Dick Glover, former VP who now works at ESPN. Ventura is suing largely for back merchandising revenue, claiming that as he found out when he went to Hollywood that the split between the company making the deal and the individual whose likeness is on the doll is 75-25 in favor of the individual, but that with Titan the split was 75-25 in favor of Titan. March 26th weekend saw WCW Saturday Night, featuring the second Hogan interview, do a 2.3, however main event did a 2.7, its best in more than a year, and Pro did an excellent 2.0. Alexander Wright, an 18-year-old British wrestler billed from Germany, who worked the recent German tour as a fill-in due to all the injuries, was given a tryout on March 30th at Center Stage and looked really green. Wright is the son of Steve Wright, who was a scientific wrestling legend in Europe, Mexico, and Japan. At the March 30th taping, they taped matches for April 16th and April 23rd, but no interviews and no angles were shot. Top matches for April 16th airing were Arnold Anderson over Hiatt, Paul Diamond with a hood, via DQ when Tanaka interfered to set up a tag match the next week with Steamboat as Anderson's partner. Bad Attitude over Thunder and Lightning terrorizing Drew Terry Taylor but Rising left Taylor laying after the match, and Harlem Heat and Ron Simmons, already back with a heavily taped left bicep, beat Marcus Bagwell in Two Cold Scorpio and Ice Train. April 23rd saw Bad Attitude beat Sullivan Brothers via DQ, no Sherry Martel appearance yet, and Steamboat and Anderson over Tanaka and Hiatt. WWF. When the WWF goes back to promoting regular house shows in the US in mid-May, they'll embark on a WrestleMania revenge tour for about 1 month with one loaded-up show per night, tickets raised to $25 ringside and throwing in the special effects usually reserved for pay-per-view shows. Top matches on these shows are Bret Hart vs. Owen Hart, Lex Luger vs. Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon vs. Diesel, Yokozuna vs. Earthquake, Jeff Jarrett vs. Doink and Dink, Tatanka vs. IRS, and Alundra Blaze vs. Luna Vachon. Kind of says something when a lineup like that constitutes loaded-up shows. I suspect the name and special effects, not to mention the ticket prices, will result in much higher grosses per event than they've done post-WM over the past several years. On the recently completed European tour, the shows in Germany did big business once again, but the England crowds were way down, so the bloom is off the rose there. The March 29th show in London drew only 3,000 fans, for example. It appears Bret vs. Yokozuna will headline King of the Ring. For the first time I can ever recall, they are running back-to-back New York dates with May 19th at the Nassau Coliseum and May 20th at Madison Square Garden with largely the same card in both buildings. Top matches on the Japan shows are May 7th in Yokohama with Bret vs. Savage, Tenryu and Undertaker, who has much longer hair bleached more blonde judging from photos from Japan, although that could change by the time he comes back to the US, versus Yokozuna and Bam Bam Bigelow. May 8th in Nagoya has Bret vs. Bigelow, Undertaker vs. Yokozuna and Tenryu, and Savage vs. Adam Bomb and Shawn Michaels. May 9th in Osaka has Bret vs. Owen, Tenryu vs. Yokozuna and a Royal Rumble. May 11th in Sapporo has Bret vs. Yokozuna, Tenryu vs. Savage and Undertaker vs. Bomb. Bull Nakano will work 2 dates against Medusa, as she'll be billed there, then continue to work a few WWF dates in Guam and Hawaii in May, but won't work the continental US until December, when she'll begin a 6-month full-time WWF tour. Rick and Scott Steiner are back on the booking sheets, although not in prominent roles. Roddy Piper will have a regular short commentary piece every week on All-American Wrestling. There are strong rumors that Piper and Len Denton, the grappler with the blessing on Don Owen, will start a Portland wrestling promotion as soon as the next few months, using local veteran wrestlers and Piper keeping the WWF connection in order to use WWF talent similar to SMW and USWA. A correction from the March 28th issue. The WWF never sent out a press release claiming that WrestleMania was expected to be viewed by the largest audience in the history of pay-per-view. That was actually from a story that went over the wires written after the show with quotes from the WWF press conference, but nobody in the WWF authorized any statements claiming expectation of a record audience. The company, in fact, has not even sent out a press release since WrestleMania, which means that my editorial comments on that claim as it regards Titan weren't applicable. Lex Luger vs. Rick Martel on the March 28th Raw drew a huge 3.3 rating, while All-American that weekend did 2.5 and Mania a 1.0. A German magazine called Bravo listed Bret Hart as a top desirable role model for German youth. The Japanese mags were also very praising of Hart after WM, comparing him with Baba, not as a wrestler, but as a good representative of their respective companies. The WrestleMania 10-man took place on the April 4th Raw with IRS and Martel and Head Shrinkers and Jarrett over 1-2-3 Kid and Sparky Plug into Tonka and Smoking Guns when Kid missed a charge into the corner and was pinned by IRS.